Guys, have you heard of the concept of a 15-minute city? If you haven't, I'm pretty certain you're going to hear about it pretty soon. The World Economic Forum, the United Nations, they're all working on this. And the concept is this: a 15-minute city is that everything that you would possibly need, your groceries, your dentist, your doctor, anything that you would need would be within 15 minutes walking distance of your home. And if you go outside of that 15-minute zone that you live in, you could possibly be fined or punished. See, what they want to do is limit your carbon footprint. They want to limit the use of your personal vehicle. See, if you drive your vehicle outside of that 15-minute zone more than 100 times a year, you could be fined. This is what they're floating around. And a lot of people would say, well, that's crazy. There's no way anyone would go along with that. But I have to remind you, what did we just do a couple years ago? Everyone locked themselves in their homes. People died in nursing homes alone because their family couldn't visit them. People lost their livelihoods. People lost their businesses. Just locked away. And back then, many of us were screaming at the rooftops saying, you know, this is all about control. All about control. It doesn't have anything to do with what they're telling us it is. And we could see the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to stop with those lockdowns, that we'd probably see new lockdowns, probably in the name of climate change. And here we are. This is the beginning of it. And it really got its big moment and really started to gain some traction in 2020 in Paris. The Socialist Party candidate for mayor won re-election. And one of the things that she was toting around back then was the idea of a 15-minute city. Now, what did I just say? Who was running for mayor? The Socialist Party. And she won. You know, the socialist, communist agenda just spreading across the globe right now. But after she won that election, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, they all jumped onto this idea of a 15-minute city. And this is moving forward. Right now in Great Britain, in the county of Oxfordshire, they're voting and proposing that if any of the 150,000 residents drive outside of their designated district more than 100 days a year, that they'll be fined 70 pounds. I mean, what is this, the Hunger Games? I mean, you can't leave your district, you can't leave your zone without being punished. You know, what is this, communist China? I mean, they have a social credit score in communist China. You know, if you're not a good little soldier, if you're not doing what the government tells you, if you're not just following the rules, your social credit score will drop and then you lose some freedoms. You know, for example, if I wanted to go on vacation, well, your social credit score would have to be at a certain level, otherwise you can't get on that airplane or you can't get on that public transportation. It's all about control and limiting our freedoms. Now, some people might say, well, that's communist China. It's not going to spread out from there. Well, I have to disagree. The World Economic Forum right now is doing just that. You know, it started with tracking the carbon footprint of a company or a factory or a corporation, right? Nobody had a problem with that. But now they want to track the carbon footprint of an individual. The World Economic Forum right now is working on a carbon footprint tracker for individuals. They want to control what you eat, how you move, who you interact with, and just about any other part of your life. If you don't believe me, here's what they have to say.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
So is that the world that you want to live in, where they're tracking your movements, tracking what you eat, tracking who you interact with, locking you in your homes, not letting you out of your district or your zone? Is that the world that you want to live in?
Well, we're learning that a World Health Organization staffer has written a report saying that a climate lockdown could be called for. It's like a COVID lockdown, a climate lockdown. Marc Morano is an author who has written a lot about climate change. He founded Climate Depot. He joins us tonight. Marc, thanks so much for coming on. A climate lockdown. Now, I would laugh this off the table, except we all just lived through the last 18 months, so we know that anything is possible. What does this mean exactly?
Well, you know, in my book, Green Fraud, I detail 2 chapters on this, Tucker. This is the climate activists were, first of all, jealous when the COVID lockdowns happened. They were beside themselves saying, how is this happening? Everyone from Greta Thunberg to John Kerry, UN officials. And then they started saying, we need to follow this. If we can shut down for a virus, we can shut down for climate. And that's what we're seeing. There's even academics in Australia proposing adding climate change to death certificates. And Bill Gates has said the death toll will be greater. So they're following every step of the way. And it's not just, a professor here or someone in academia. We have a major UK report coming out. We have an international agency report that came out calling for essentially the same type of lockdowns, everything from restrictions on your thermostat to restrictions of moving. You can only fly in a climate emergency when it's, quote, morally justifiable. Kind of like a lockdown, you have to justify going to the store for essential services. They're going after freedom of movement. They're going after private car ownership. They're going after everything it means to be a free person and turning it over to the administrative state.
So climate lockdowns, this 15-minute city concept, it's being pushed through, and I think it's going to be fast-tracked.